killing Slomo. Now I want you to listen to the lyrics of this little song.
Buy a ticket for a boat, and you can buy a ticket for a plane. You can buy a ticket for that subway, but you can't buy a ticket for that heavenly train.
Now let me turn the volume down a little bit.
And Lord, it's gonna be so nice.
Whoa. It's hard to do these things, you know.
He's already paid the price.
I want you to be able to hear what I'm saying, killing Slomo.
Worry about a cancellation.
Well, guess who's trying to sell you a ticket? Huh? Not a ticket to paradise, no. Sell you a ticket. Just sell you a ticket. Even before you're grown up, they want to sell you a ticket. And I'll tell you, they don't believe in Jesus Christ or God or anything like that. They just want money. They want you to buy their ticket. Don't buy their ticket. Do what the song says. Jesus is already paid. He's paid your fare. You don't have to cheat. You don't have to lie. You don't have to be a Luciferian. You can be what you already really were and are, and get away with it and have a happy life, in spite of the Luciferians that have mucked this place up tremendously. Well, to remind you what was happening at the scene, there was Modesto on his hands and knees bringing the corpse of Hillary with her buttocks gyrating. It had turned into kind of a gyration, so it was going to be re-diagnosed as an athetoid choreiform movement. It was not just the gluteus maximus. It looked like it might actually involve some of the muscles of the leg, of the left leg. And somebody, I think it was Tim Kaine, had pointed out a twitch in the left large toe. Anyway, the slob was being brought to the top of the hill. And on the back of the skinny, small-jointed, the man who has worked his way to the next to the very top with such a small jaw, he probably is going to need surgery. His teeth are probably undoubtedly malaligned, but I'm not a dental expert, so put that aside. Anyway, he's coming up on the hill, which is a lot of work when you got 200 pounds of wet cement on your back. Hey dude, good to see you. And that's what Hillary amounted to. And it was hard to keep her balance, so he had to kind of go a little bit at the time, which was wearing his knees down quite a bit, because he had a brand new Italian suit, which cost about $14,000. But there went the old knees in the pants, that's for sure. Hey, sweetie. And he would do anything if he could save the, and he was actually, but Modesto was encouraged to note that these athetoid movements of the hip and leg on the left side signified that maybe at least the leg could serve as a present. See, it wouldn't be limited to the gluteus maximus muscle, or maybe to a group of muscle fibers, but actually they could probably get a lot done in the first 4 years if they had a whole leg to work with. And particularly with Modesto, who had everything to gain by getting to the top of the hill with his package intact, at least as much intact as it presently was, or ever was, really. Anyway, it was a dangerous affair, the whole thing. And Hillary was dead in a post, with the exception of this leg business. But meanwhile, a lot was happening. A lot was happening. Jocko, I think I mentioned to you, had gone over to the Muslim side of things, and somehow or another he hadn't had time to read the whole Koran. As a matter of fact, he didn't even have time to spell the word Koran. He didn't know how to pronounce it or anything. He never heard of it, but he had heard this secret statement that Gabriel gave to Muhammad, presumably in the same cave that they did got a lot of their dictation from the scribe that they used, invariably his lawyer. Very intelligent man, they don't mention much, but anyway, since Muhammad couldn't write or read it, he needed a scribe, which was always with him. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Jocko was convinced that he could follow the religion if he could only remember which way east and west was, because he had been told that if he forgot to jump to his knees and hands, put his head down on the sand right at the correct time 4 or 5 times a day, if he forgot, or maybe he was on an elevator or something like that with a bunch of people and there was not enough room, you see, when the time came up, then he would be beheaded. And that seemed like a severe punishment, but he was game, particularly being encouraged by his love for Huma, who he had seen leap from the tree. And he had been impressed with her super gibbon-like physique and the way that she sprang from the limbs of the tree and landed on her feet, ready to fight, and to get Modesto, who, as you remember, ran off into the woods with great fear. Well, if I didn't tell you how they finally made up with each other, that's another story I probably forgot to mention. Yeah, she cornered him down in the woods. Yeah, she came around, she circled it. Hey, doggy. She cornered him down in the trees off to the, right on the other side of the lake. Which, by the way, there was a mist, a sulfurous-looking mist, a yellow mist over most of the lake, particularly the part where, right in the middle, where Hillary had been. Anyway, that for sure they didn't want they didn't want to swim out there and get contaminated, so Modesto ran around to the other side of the lake trying to hide, and he was hiding in a little ravine-like area where a tree had fallen and uprooted during the hurricane. And he was down in there, and she comes leaping through the air. She had known he had gone down in there. And this was a very large tree, and it was a very big hole where the roots had been pulled up to one side. And Huma dove into that thing like some sort of, Spider-Man, or Spider-Woman. And it was like the gibbon that she had appeared to when she jumped out of the tree to get Modesto, which of course was the reason he ran off in the first place. Well, she comes leaping out and grabs him and starts choking him with some sort of, I don't know, one of these wrestling holds that chokes a person off. She had his neck compressed in both arms, and she was positioning her body to put more and more leverage on it, and there was no sign of life in Modesto. So she, after a couple of minutes where there was no movement or anything like that, she loosens up her grip and begins to stand up. Well, that was a big mistake on her part. As soon as she loosened her grip, Modesto jumps up to his feet. He had been fooling the whole time. He jumped to his feet and pulled out a stiletto. Huh? You've heard that before, the old stiletto. Yeah, well, it's the same one. He got his hands on it. He's a thief in a small kleptomaniac way, as well as being a sociopathic, what you might call a psychopath. Anyway, so Uma leaps down there and thinks she's got him, and he jumps up with a big stiletto, and she backs off, and he scrambles up the little hole side of the hole there to get back to the surface where the tree had been the surface before it had been uprooted. And he ran off. He ran off in the woods, and the next thing was he got back in the pickup and done all that kind of stuff. And that brings us up to old Jocko out there making his pipe bomb on the side of the freeway. It's about very early in the morning, but they went out on daylight saving time. Okay, it's very important to take that into consideration. So, there he was, Jocko, making a pipe bomb. You know, and he had his fertilizer. They always carry fertilizer, those kind of guys. And they usually have a detonating cap or something like that. And they scramble the things together, and boom, they've got a pipe bomb. You know. Jocko was very efficient at this because he spent a lot of time on the internet, and he had he had infiltrated the one of these liberal groups, satanic Luciferian groups, a local chapter in his area. And even though he was the only fat person there, the rest of them were kind of thin, relatively tall, he convinced them somehow or another that he was a liberal Satanist like them. And actually, he went to some of their meetings, their prayer meetings, where they talk about beheading and doing all this kind of stuff. Of course, they don't really do it, but Jocko was a little bit nervous because he wasn't sure 100%, you know. I mean, it seemed metaphorical to him, but particularly this part about eating one of the members from time to time. Now, that part unnerved Jocko to a large extent, where he was almost thinking, like, he almost said to himself, you know, maybe I should just be a farmer and follow the example of farmers who try to stay just on the farm, not know about anything, until they're ripped off one more time. And this was his question he asked himself, you know, because he knew that there were two gambits that could be played against him by the CIA rogue units, which all can do what they want to. So it's nobody knows who did it. That's the key. If you know who did it, then you get caught. Yeah, that's the problem, man. But most people know how to do this stuff without being caught. I mean, come on, the CIA. Now, they usually plant pedophilic material on the computer. They try to sell you that way, thinking like if that'll quiet him down. And that's one of their tricks. And let's see, there's another one. Oh, this satanic thing. They do that too. They want to get some kind of fanatical Christian to come out of the woodwork and do their dirty work for them. Make sure you make a major contribution to our CIA. The problem is the money doesn't get divided evenly between the good CIA and the bad CIA. Now, the good CIA gave us Podesta's emails. True patriots within the CIA.